Easter Island, or Rapa Nui, is one of the most remote inhabited places on Earth, over 2,000 miles from the nearest continent. This small volcanic island is home to nearly 900 massive stone statues known as Moai. With their solemn faces and towering forms, they have captivated the world for centuries. But their presence poses a number of staggering questions. How did the ancient Rapa Nui carve these enormous figures? How did they transport them across the island with no large animals or wheels? What purpose did they serve? And, perhaps most intriguingly, why were some left unfinished, abandoned in the quarries as if construction suddenly halted? Despite decades of research, many aspects of the Moai remain an unsolved mystery, leaving scientists to debate theories that range from ingenious engineering to supernatural legends. Between the 13th and 17th centuries, the Rapa Nui people undertook the colossal task of carving the Moai from volcanic tuff, a soft, easily worked stone found in the Rano Raraku quarry. Each statue, averaging 13 feet in height and weighing around 14 tons, was sculpted using basalt tools wielded by highly skilled craftsmen. Over time, the Moai grew in size, with some exceeding 30 feet, possibly reflecting increasing competition among clans who sought to outdo one another in honoring their ancestors. The largest Moai ever carved, known as El Gigante, remains unfinished in the quarry and would have stood at an astonishing 70 feet tall and weighing over 200 tons had it been completed. The Rapa Nui believed the Moai embodied the spirits of deified ancestors, granting protection and prosperity to the island. These statues were more than just stone figures. They were guardians, a link between the living and the divine. But carving them was only the first step. The real challenge came in transporting these monolithic figures from the quarry to their final locations, sometimes miles away, without the aid of modern technology. Though the origins of the Moai reveal the artistic and religious priorities of the Rapa Nui, they also led to a greater enigma: how an island society with limited resources managed to move such massive statues across harsh terrain. The question of how the Moai were moved has puzzled researchers for generations. Early theories suggest that the Rapa Nui used wooden sledges and log rollers to drag the statues to their destinations. However, this would have required extensive deforestation, which some believe contributed to the island's ecological collapse. Additionally, this method would have been inefficient given the terrain and the sheer weight of the statues. A more recent and widely accepted theory suggests that the Rapa Nui made these statues walk by attaching ropes around the Moai and rocking them side to side in a controlled motion. A relatively small group of people could, theoretically, move the statues upright to their final locations. This theory is supported by both oral traditions, which describe the Moai as walking to their platforms, and experimental archaeology, which has successfully demonstrated the feasibility of this technique. It also explains why some fallen Moai along ancient roads appear to have tipped forward rather than being dragged. If the Rapa Nui truly moved these massive figures by making them walk, it speaks to an extraordinary level of ingenuity and coordination within their society. But beyond the logistics of moving the statues, an even deeper mystery lies in their placement. Why were the Moai positioned where they were, and what purpose did they serve once erected? The arrangement of the Moai across Easter Island is far from random. Researchers have discovered a striking pattern in their distribution. Many are positioned near sources of fresh water. On an island where drinking water was scarce, this connection suggests that the Moai may have marked or protected vital water resources. The Rapa Nui people, who depended on groundwater emerging near the coastline, may have placed these statues as guardians of their most precious resource. Additionally, the Moai were erected on stone platforms called ahu, which functioned as ceremonial centers. These sites were often linked to ancestral worship and rituals, reinforcing the idea that the Moai were not merely artistic expressions, but held deep spiritual significance. Some experts believe that the statues represented not just past leaders, but a form of divine intervention, ensuring the prosperity and stability of the island. Yet despite their careful placement, not all Moai were completed, nor did all remain standing. Something changed on Easter Island that led to abandoned Moai and, ultimately, the collapse of their society. Scattered across the Rano Raraku quarry and the island's ancient roads are hundreds of Moai in various stages of completion. Some remained partially carved from the bedrock, while others are fully formed but never transported. Why were they left abandoned? Was it due to the sudden collapse of the Rapa Nui society, or were there other reasons these moai were never finished? One theory suggests that the Rapa Nui abandoned statue carving due to resource depletion. As their population grew, the demand for moai may have placed an unsustainable strain on the island's trees, which were essential for transporting these statues and building canoes for fishing. Without the necessary materials, work may have simply ceased, leaving some moai forever frozen in time. Another theory proposes that moai carving stopped due to internal conflicts. European explorers in the 18th century reported seeing toppled statues, possibly the result of rival clans pushing them over during periods of warfare. These conflicts, combined with slave raids and introduced diseases, could have led to the sudden abandonment of moai production. The presence of so many unfinished moai suggests a dramatic and abrupt shift in Rapa Nui society, but the exact cause remains one of the island's greatest mysteries. As if the moai themselves weren't mysterious enough, new discoveries have revealed an astonishing detail that changes how we view these statues altogether: their eyes. For years, the moai were thought to be expressionless stone faces gazing out towards the ocean. However, archaeologists have discovered that the statues originally had intricately carved eyes, made from white coral with black obsidian or red scoria pupils. These pupils were more than decorative. They were the key to activating the moai. The Rapa Nui believed that once the eyes were inserted, the moai came to life, possessing a spiritual force known as mana. This supernatural power allowed them to protect the island and its people. In 1979, archaeologists reassembled fragments of coral eye sockets, confirming that the statue's eye sockets were designed to hold these inlays. This discovery reshaped our understanding of the moai, proving they were not merely static monuments, but were considered living entities by the Rapa Nui. The idea that the moai were spiritually activated adds another layer of mystery to their purpose. Were these statues guardians, silently watching over the islands? Were they channels for ancestral spirits? The truth remains elusive, but what is certain is that the moai were deeply tied to the spiritual and cultural identity of the Rapa Nui people. However, while the moai have withstood centuries of history, they now face new threats that may endanger their future. While time has already taken its toll on many of the moai, modern threats pose an even greater danger. Climate change, rising sea levels, and increased storm activity are accelerating erosion, wearing away at the very foundations that have kept these statues standing for centuries. Some moai located near the coast are at risk of being swallowed by the ocean as waves crash against their stone platforms. Efforts to protect and preserve the moai are ongoing, but conservationists face significant challenges. Many statues have already suffered damage from natural erosion, while others have been affected by human activity, including vandalism. The future of these ancient guardians remains uncertain, and without intervention, they may not survive to tell their story to future generations. The moai of Easter Island stand as silent witness to a lost civilization. Their towering figures both a triumph of human ingenuity and a reminder of the fragility of societies. Despite extensive research, the full truth behind them remains elusive. Were they spiritual protectors, ancestral monuments, or symbols of power? Perhaps they were all of these things and more. And while their past may be shrouded in mystery, one thing is clear: their legacy continues to captivate and inspire, ensuring that the secrets of the moai will never be forgotten.